Russell Wilson has been traded to the Denver Broncos. Tom Pelissero reports that there is a deal in principle to send 9-time Pro Bowl quarterback Russell Wilson to the Denver Broncos. In exchange for...
All right, back now with you on Total Access with breaking news out of Green Bay. We go straight to Tom Pelissero on the details of what's going on with Davante Adams, who looks like the Raiders are acquiring him from the Packers. All right.
Hello and welcome to the Wild Wild West podcast. I am RichiRichEh of the MHRT Network, and over to my left is the one and only Captain Jack Rackham. You can find him on YouTube. Oh, there we go, the Goonie Goo dance there.
Oh, he's up. He's moving.
And this is special for you, Coach, because my legs are hurting so bad because I wasn't able to take my painkillers today because I'm knocking out at work. So the choice is either fall asleep at work and get bitched out or don't use painkillers and have pain all day. So I have pain all day, but I got up for you to give the Carlton Goonie Goo Goo dance.
Goonie Goo Goo dance. Is that the official name?
Well, no, it's a combination of the Carlton with a little bit of Captain Jack Goonie Goo Goo thrown in there, so that's why it's the Carlton Goonie Goo Goo dance. So. And I got up for you, Coach, out of respect. Out of respect.
I thought your legs would have been hurting because he couldn't stay off the pole though, over the weekend. That's what I thought.
No, I was with a couple chicks that were on the pole, but that's just what I'm saying.
They give you a few dollars. I heard you do little strings for a little bit of change.
I am a firm believer in supporting the single mothers,
local businesses.
Yeah, single mothers.
Support buy local.
Buy local. Support small businesses.
Yeah, that's right. Well, actually, she had a big business, but that's beside the point,
Don't get lost.
Yeah. Big business.
So, now that we finished the anatomy lesson for today, down directly below me is the one and the only Mr. Alex Gibbons of Arrowhead Attic. Alex, how you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing great. As the last team remaining, I'm going to bring the smugness out early for everyone. So deal with it. As my esteemed colleague said, this is now a Chiefs podcast, baby.
And last but not least, we have the one, the only Coach Defense from the Lockdown Defense podcast. Again, you can also find Coach on the YouTube. Go ahead and do a search and give him a like and subscribe, especially if you're a Chargers fan, because he does do exclusive Chargers content there as well as NBA.
Oh, no wonder, man. You don't have my channel on there.
Huh? Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, Matt, no wonder it's light in here. Yeah, sure enough.
I was wondering. I said, well,
Yeah. I was like, how come I didn't get any responses when I said
I
the
know, right?
smugness is
You thought
out?
it was
I
gonna be
thought
some
for
fire
sure
in
I'd be
the
like, get effed. Get out of here.
yeah, there you go. Yep. Okay, hopefully we got some in there now. Okay. Yeah. So we're here. I was like, where the Foxtrot is my YouTube and my Twitter.
We got my boy Jacob here though.
Well,
And no, I'm not going to push the red button that says end broadcast because that would just be bad.
Yeah.
I wonder why my live stream wasn't loaded. And now it makes sense. Yeah, the destinations weren't set properly.
That's been fixed.
Okay.
Yeah. Hey, did you need a plug, Coach? As I can get out of one.
No, I got his in there. He's good.
Okay.
We're good.
Okay, I just wanted to be sure.
All right. Technical difficulties have been averted.
Bing, bing. Okay, we got it.
There we go. There's a Raider fan.
Boom.
Yeah. Hey, Robert, it wasn't my fault. It was his fault.
Oh, that way.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, you know. I'm left-handed. What do you want from me?
We're good now.
Yeah, we're good. All right. Okay. We got to stop and start the monologue all over again.
All right. Hi, how are you?
Hey, I can do that.
I'm being smug. Deal with it.
Yeah, and I can do the goody goo goo dance.
Hold
again.
on.
Wait a second.
Quick recap. Captain is too. Oh, he even got up again. This is a real recap. So we have Captain over here on my left. I have to point left to go right. So Captain did the goody goo dance. Alex is going to continue his smugness for all that is remembering from last show. He's just going to continue that on right now. I'm also waiting for Daddy Smug to show up too, by the way.
Daddy Smug. Good old Daddy Smug.
Which, by the way, may actually make for one of the greatest T-shirts ever. Like just to,
yeah.
There is Father's Day coming up at some point there. It's just, I'm throwing it out there. You have time to get it printed.
And we is that enough characters for a Chiefs jersey with Daddy Smug on the back?
I think it is. I think it'll work.
And ladies and gentlemen, Coach Defense, all of you who are on his channel, welcome you to come and join in the chat. And for those of you who are joining us after the show, please go on ahead and share that out to other Chargers fans. And as I said earlier, for those that are now just joining us, Coach does exclusive Chargers content, but he also does NBA content throughout the week. It's a great channel. Highly recommend it. Like and
Did
subscribe.
you say MDMA? He does content dealing with Molly, the drug. Come on, Coach. That's bad.
NBA.
NBA, NFL and NBA, man.
Oh, I heard MDMA. So
Get your Tootsie Roll out of your ear.
Hey, Captain, there's a whole skit on South Park, which drugs are bad, okay?
Yeah.
drugs are bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll just leave that there. So we had a rather interesting weekend in NFL. I do have to agree with many of the conclusions of most. That may have been one of the best first kind of playoff weeks in basically recent NFL memory, in my mind. We had some really, really tight games, competitive games, and frankly, great content.
That sucks. It was horrible.
At what part of your Saturday was horrible, Coach? Because certainly the first, I would say, 30 minutes or so were probably fine.
Probably about from 9:30 to the rest of the night.
Yeah. Okay.
That's probably when it started.
Hey, Coach, I can honestly say though, and again, I got them ready for you. Okay, you didn't have as horrible of a Saturday night than my son did, because he was at that game. So he saw the decimation personally, drove up from Melbourne, which is about 2 hours away, to Jacksonville, and was feeling good at halftime.
Wow, Ed. That's pretty bad.
I have a lot of those Saturdays around here, but that's unfortunate. But but he saw that game, and to this day, I still have not had a chance to talk to him. So I get to get out all my pent up frustrations with you. That's why you're taking
whoopee. So excited.
I think that it's probably in our interest to just kind of get right into it. Obviously, Coach, this is kind of we'll call it therapeutic in a way for you to kind of get it all out there and hopefully be able to move on. But at the end of the day, I mean, clearly the first half this was a tale of two halves for the Chargers, obviously. Where do you think things went wrong? I mean, the big takeaway that I kept on hearing was, Lombardi's got to go, and now he has.
Mm-hmm.
But aside from that, what were your main takeaways?
But I was part of it. But overall, I mean, what have I been saying all year long? What do we need to find a way to do?
Finish game.
Run the ball.
Oh, run the ball. Okay.
Run the ball. Couldn't run the ball at all. Didn't at all year. It wasn't just Saturday. All year, and it reared its ugly head because when you get up with that type of margin, in order to close games out, you got to be able to run the ball.
You got to run the ball in the playoffs too.
Right.
I mean,
right.
Period. But I mean, you might be able to get away with it in Jacksonville with a slightly warmer climate, things of that nature, and not bad weather. But going forward from then on, had you advanced, you would have been facing nothing but cold weather teams. So the running game is paramount in playoff games. I've been saying it all year, and it's not just being hyperbolic and saying it only happened in this game. We should have been able to run the ball. I've been saying it all year on this podcast. So we need to find a way to run the ball, get the run game more involved, and overall just not having an identity. Period. Like you tell me, from a outside looking in perspective, what did the Chargers ever do well? You can't name a whole lot of things. I mean, outside of pass defense in certain aspects, but outside of that, they had no calling card. Most championship teams, most championship caliber teams, and teams that have pedigree in this league have an identity, and we didn't have an identity. We never established an identity all year long. Are we going to be at past every team, which you need a lot of receivers for? We didn't address that in off season, which I also underscored that we didn't have enough receivers in the room. You pick up poor running backs, but you never ever decide to be running game to be your identity. Like that makes absolutely no sense. If you were going to rely on Justin Herbert's arm talent, you need somebody for him to better keep the ball to. That's the most glaring thing that's out from the outside looking in. Well, from the outside of the game looking in before we actually get into the game, that was the biggest thing. The lack of identity exposed this team. The lack of downfield plays as well exposed this team. We didn't have any downfield threats. I looked at a schematic and it showed Josh Allen's throw chart versus Justin Herbert's throw chart. Justin Herbert didn't complete a pass over 12 yards. Josh Allen threw the ball all over the field. 20, 30, 40, 50 yards in the air. So there's they're playing two different games.
Wait, are you talking Lawrence or are you talking Allen?
No, I'm talking Josh Allen.
Oh, Josh Allen. Okay, yeah.
Josh Allen. So just looking at it from that perspective, no ability to throw the ball down the field. You're making it easy for the defense to be able to play you as I only call it a one-dimensional, but yet a quote unquote, air quote ability to pay you 15 yards and above the line of scrimmage. So I would definitely say that for sure that it was one of those things where you have to be honest with yourselves and say that the things that we needed to do in order to win this game, we didn't have in the arsenal. On top of play calling being an issue, the fact, like I said, Mike Williams was hurt, so you didn't have a necessary outside threat. I was expecting Josh Palmer to play a better game. He didn't. Gerald Everett had a really good game, but they stopped going to him in the second half. They made some great halftime adjustments, and they decided to bracket double Keenan Allen for the rest of the game, and he wasn't available. So, yet again, there you have it. Being injured is a part of it. Seeing I guess you can say a rising in blown coverages in the last 3 to 4 weeks has been an issue too. They gave up one-play touchdowns to the Jaguars once or twice in that game in the second half, based upon blown coverage. When we went back and look at the film, Derwin James thought they was in one coverage, and the other safety thought he was in another coverage, and they left a guy wide open in the end zone. So that right there, you can't. That type of things you can't have. But overall, all in all, you have to be able to close that game out being up 27-0, and 27-7 going into half. So you slow the game down, run the ball, move the clock, and allow for yourselves to be able to bring the game on home. And I pin that on coaching. I think that the lack of adjustments they did or did not make in the second half was a telling sign of their inexperience. Like you said, Staley didn't fall on the sword, but Lombardi and the quarterback coach did for that particular reason. So, that was all in all. I mean, that was really one of the biggest things that, and he didn't get Austin Eckler involved in the pass game, which was another travesty. He only had 2 receptions out of the backfield, where he averages about 4 to 5. So you didn't get him involved in the pass game when nothing was available downfield. Didn't run the ball. You allow for them to extend the game by passing, going quick 3 and outs. I literally saw Dallas go in the first part of their game, go 15 seconds in a possession. That's how short a possession can be if you pass the ball on every down. So you have to be able to mix it up, run the ball, and let the clock spin. If you don't let the clock spin, you leave yourself susceptible to the idea of somebody coming back on you. And that's what happened. The defense reverted back to the defense that we had been over the course of the season, and there you have it.
So obviously, a lot of detail in there, obviously, and there's a lot that goes into a loss and a win. However, as kind of I alluded to, is that the Chargers have retained Staley, but they got rid of Lombardi. We have Ed coming in here, who will hopefully have better luck this upcoming weekend.
Right.
Here with his question about keeping Staley, and this is a big one in with all the Chargers fans. So where are you at with that?
Well, I knew before I get into the optics of whether they should have got rid of him. I knew they were going to keep him. They don't.
I even asked you like it's Sunday or Monday.
Yeah, you did. Alex and I talked about it over the weekend. So I knew they were going to keep him. They don't fire coaches quickly. They never have. Going all the way back to the Marty Schottenheimer days, you get 4 to 5 years minimum in typical situations, right? Unless you get totally completely over your skis, which again they still give you that ability to basically, utterly, show that you can move the team forward before they decide to move on from you. So I knew based upon that history that they weren't going to fire Staley. Now, to the idea of should they have fired him? Probably not, because of the idea that he is, air quote, building something in the organization that hadn't necessarily been done before. He's slowly but surely changing the culture and the temperature in the building. No, they shouldn't have. But I will say this, that his deficiencies need to change. I do think that the fact that he has a defensive mindset and a defensive background, he needs to fix the defense and needs to get 10 times better next season. If you at this point this will be 3 years in, and your defense has been one of the last laughing stocks of the league. And statistically, you've been like one of the worst. Between 29 and 32, you've been last in the bottom 5 of the defensive categories in the last 2 seasons, and that's your avenue, that's your lane. So you need to fix that aspect of it. Now, of course, the offense needs to change, and they did get rid of the offensive coordinator and the quarterback coach. And ironically, too, they got rid of the linebackers coach too, Mike Wilhoit. He's a former linebacker that played in the league. So there have some things, coming, in as far as changing the environment when it comes down to the offense. But the question is, what will that be? But as far as, the ability that the team has in trusting Staley, that's one thing that kept his job, I believe. I believe that the team really buys into what he's selling. So that part kept it, part of the reason why they kept his job. And 2, again, if you restart it, the only logical option would be Sean Payton if you're going to upgrade, right? And Sean Payton flat out costs too much for the Chargers to worry about spending at this moment. He's going to cost at least a first-round pick. He's going to cost you about $25 million a year in salary. So you basically you spending a high capital, maybe the largest salary in the league to attain him, and is that going to definitely guarantee you any better benefits than what Staley is trying to build in the building? So I think that's the reason why you were necessarily stuck with him, but I think that the better option will be to stay with Staley versus chasing Sean Payton, and hopefully it turns out any better than what Staley is trying to build there in LA. But all in all, you just have to really hold your breath and see who they're going to pick as a coordinator. Because again, I always say, this is my philosophy, that if you're a defensive-minded head coach, Sean McDermott, Leslie Frazier and guys of that nature that had those defensive backgrounds. You got to hit slam dunk with your offensive coordinator. So, guys like Frank Wright, or people that have really good, pedigrees. LaFleur, it's not LaFleur from the Jets. Him, somebody like that has really good history of running good offense and running sound offense and running innovative offense. He has to be the one. That has to be the one you pick. If not,
hey, Byron Leftwich is available.
Well, they hadn't officially canned him yet, but it's rumors that they're going to, which I think is a mistake. But I don't think he should fall on the sword for that debacle in Tampa either. But yet again, I mean, it has to be somebody that has some type of offense that can be an upgrade and maximize Justin Herbert's potential. On top of him getting better talent for him to throw to. We need to address, the options of having more receivers in the building than just 4. So and honestly it's just 3, and one's a kick returner. He had 3 receivers all year, and 2 of them were hurt for the most of it. And the 4th one was a kick returner. It got thrown into being a receiver. So you need to address the receiver room, and you need to address the right tackle area if you're not going to resign Trey Pipkins, and figure out what you're going to be on that side of the ball. And once they do that, then I think that it'll be better in the building. But until then, I'm just in waiting.
I think that's fair. So I have a different question from the same vantage point for you. So you even alluded to this in your kind of your explanation there in terms of what you think that the Chargers need to do, or more importantly, what Staley needs to do in order to bolster the team going forward. I guess what my concern is for the Chargers is Staley is a defensive guy. That's his side of the ball, as you stated earlier. Yep. However, you also stated quite clearly earlier that that's also one of the weak spots on your team. It's actually one of the interesting things about the Lombardi firing, right? At least from my perspective, which is despite his shortcomings as an offensive coordinator, which Lombardi had many, the offense was still, by and large, the strong part of your team this season.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely way higher in the rankings. Right? Yeah, way higher in the rankings than the defense was. Yes, absolutely. And to your point, I think that this is the year. I think that instead of just completely, utterly turn around his scheme and his production from a defensive standpoint, he needs to go after this year. That's my take. As right now, if he doesn't fix it by year 3, then he's got to go. Because clearly, we can't. Because look at the tail of 2 seasons. Last year, we had the top 5 offense, but we couldn't stop a cold, right? So we were in shootouts every game. On top of being injured. This year, the offense wasn't as potent or wasn't dynamic, and the defense still couldn't stop anybody. So we literally lost games in large space because we just couldn't stop anybody, and we couldn't put up enough points to match them. So one of these sides of the ball has to be buttoned up. If it's not buttoned up, then what are we doing here? So
furthermore, you guys brought in a bunch of defensive players to bolster that side of the ball. I mean,
and half of them got hurt.
Joseph Day.
Yeah, and half of them got hurt. Like J.C. Jackson got hurt, 4th game. Bosa was hurt for most of it. The only person that was healthy throughout the whole thing, they played every game, was Khalil Mack. Khalil Mack didn't miss a game.
But you look at the same time, though, with regard to the defense, even in that wild card game, they got 5 turnovers. I mean, you would think that's enough defensive production.
I'm not excusing. Listen, if you're a +5 in the turnover category, you should win that game going away. That's why I say you as a coach have to close that game out. That's your
why
job.
I kind of went to look at the time of possession after each pick, but really there was only one they gave up. They had to punt after, but they only had the ball for a minute.
Right.
So it's stuff like the same principle, in Chiefs in the playoffs and Chiefs games when they lose, it's not long sustained possessions. So you're just giving them the ball back 2 minutes later.
Right. And putting the pressure on your defense where we're not good in their own right to hold up. And I definitely believe that's the issue. At some point, sometimes you just got to deal with time of possession. You need to obtain the ball longer than they do in order to win games. That's just a fact about football. You just need to possess the ball longer than them. You can't give them countless possession and expect defense to get stops every single time. It's not the 2000 Ravens. So they're the only team I know, in my lifetime that could honestly and truly, get stops regardless of what position you put them in on the field. We don't have that type of historic defense. So you got to be able to put yourself in good positions on both sides of the ball in order to be successful. If you don't, I promise you'll lose a lot more games than you're supposed to.
Yeah.
I'm not pissed, Mike, sir. I'm disappointed, but I'm not pissed. Listen,
I'm not mad.
listen.
I'm disappointed.
I tell you one glaring thing about me. I tell you one glaring thing about me that I'm never mad about things I can't control. I don't play for the Chargers. I don't coach for Chargers. I don't even get paid to do Chargers content. I do it for free. So that particular aspect of it, I'm never gonna be mad about. But I am upset that they keep letting these type of things happen to them and don't get any better or learn from it. What do they say about insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results, and that's what the Chargers keep doing.
You weren't even upset at my Carlton Goody Goo Goo dance?
No,
not in the least.
No, come on now.
He's like, hell no.
No, come on now. I was more concerned about you hurting your knees than
And like I said, well, it's not the knee; it's the sciatic. It's the sciatic.
Yeah, well, I'm worried about your sciatica acting up, and we got to get you a wheelchair.
Yeah, you know what? You're a gem, Coach. I love you. I love you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, our special guest has entered the building, as it were, and I think, given the fact that it's pretty fitting, the fact that we're talking about the game prior. And also, it's also a great segue into the game ahead. So I think that overall, it covers both bases, if we're going to be honest. So with that in mind, I am going to go ahead and bring in today's live special guest for a unique version of a three-point stance-ish, kind of, sort of, maybe. I'm going to go ahead and bring in the one and only JK the Third from down by the bank. Let's give JK the Third a round of applause and thank him for joining us today.
Give me a round of applause. Hillsborough.
It don't work like that. It don't work like that.
Yeah, it does.
Nah, it don't work like that. It don't work like that.
So we were just breaking down a little bit of the Chargers game, and interesting things obviously happened. It was quite literally a tale of two halves in that game. Is really the best way of putting it. We saw the Chargers quickly start to lose kind of that game, and it started to slip away rather quickly there in the second half. We were talking, we've had several chats, you and I, with regards to the Jags. One of the things that you have mentioned on more than one occasion is the fact that the Jags have a bit of a knack this season for comebacks.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
Honestly, man, I think overall it's just been a crazy season, but it's just been a bend don't break mentality for the Jags defense. I don't think they're getting a lot of credit, for some of the defensive efforts that they're doing and some of the things and the short fields and opportunities that they've been given. Trevor Lawrence. Of course, he's going to get all of the the accolades and things like that because of the quote unquote generational talent label that's been taken on to him as well. But the defense has been playing, absolutely lights out. And the defense has shown up when we needed them to, especially, against Dallas, against the Raiders, against the Chargers as well. The defense has showed up and, pretty much had a bend, don't break mentality for them. And again, it's just been one of those things where, the Jags, offense is become high powered. It has been one of the ways that they've been able to, kind of come back within. And Evan Ingram and the offensive line, contribute to that. ETN has been great, as well in the out of the backfield for us also. So it's been a recipe for, just awesomeness over the last, maybe 5-6 weeks, for the Jags. And it's been very entertaining for us. In light of the Mar Hamlin situation, I haven't used the phrase cardiac cats. So it's been comeback cats. That it's been dubbed around here, in Jacksonville. But it's been, and also, you got to tip your hat to coaching as well. After the disaster that we had last year with Urban Meyer, Doug Peterson has come in, righted the ship, and pretty much, gotten these guys playing some unbelievable football and got them really, thinking that they're never out of it, like, last week.
a classic song reference here, obviously. So I had to pull that up because it's again fitting given the topic at hand. Alex, you look confused. It's a reference to the Cat Came Back song.
Me, man. To what?
It's a reference to the Cat Came Back song. You know the jingle as a kid. Did you live under a rock all your childhood?
I lived in the 90s, so I think it might
Chris,
be
you're really young. Alex is young.
Well, I happen to have lived in the 90s too, and even I know that
stuff.
reference.
We had Voltron, he had Power Rangers.
Yeah. Come on now.
Fair enough.
Hey, I had Mr. Magoo. So, I y'all are young.
We know you. We know you. It's not a secret. You had wind-up cars. We know.
Walk to school uphill both ways.
There you go.
But so as we look ahead to the KC game and kind of move past where we were with the Chargers, we're into a completely different team. Certainly a team that arguably will have probably a higher degree of confidence coming into a game like this, having a good portion of their team having been both in a game like this and won a game like this before, which I think is a big deal because we've spoken multiple times, guys, on this podcast about winning culture and knowing what it takes to win and that sort of thing. And I think at this point here, we can clearly state that Mahomes and Reed and Eric Bieniemy and a good number of the other Chiefs players certainly are aware of what that threshold and what that bar is. So with your young Jags team, because I think that's another thing to throw out there, is that you're dealing with an awfully young roster on the Jags there.
Yeah.
How do you think they're going to try to match, or can they match that intensity, even if it's kind of blind youth, right? Like that, the blind youth aggression to just say, to heck with it, I can do it too, man.
Yeah. No, they, so earlier in the year, 27-17, Chiefs over the Jags. In that game, to match kind of the intensity, call it what you want, but Andre Sisco coming across the middle a couple of times. I'll give him one, questionable hit, on Juju, but the one where Juju actually stopped prior, that was kind of, a bang play. But they tried to match the intensity there, and trying to set the message, about him coming across the middle. And Andre Sisco is, he's got the DNA of a Steve Atwater, of a Rod Woodson, type of player where, you're coming across the middle, you're going to get hit. It's going to be a clean hit, but you're going to get hit coming across the middle. And then especially too, as far as some
Atkinson, you missed Tatum. Come on, man. If you're going to say hits,
I was born in 86, bro. I was born in 86, so you cut me a little slack.
Yet again.
Cut me a little slack, man. Cut me a little slack. But I think, that young hungriness has gotten them into trouble sometimes with, our rookie, defensive end, Trayvon Walker. There's been a couple of times where he's, gotten some late hits on the quarterback, and especially last week against the Chargers, there was a questionable roughing the passer call, but still, you gotta stop.
They're all questionable.
But that one in the Vikings game.
Oh God!
That was
Lord. That was ridiculous. That was egregiously bad.
So I think as far as them matching the intensity, the Jags have played over the last 2 weeks, actually the last 6 weeks. It's been a win or die because, we had the Jets, we had the Titans twice, and then the playoff, or not the playoff game, but the quote unquote playoff game the last season to get into the playoffs with the Titans. There was pretty intense. So pretty much they've been playing pressure cooker games, the last month and a half. And I think the defense is going to try to match the intensity in Arrowhead. This will be my second time going to Arrowhead, and in my opinion, it's There's no place like it. I mean, I didn't go to. I didn't
again.
go,
One more time.
there's no place like it. I'll be completely honest with you. I didn't go to. I haven't gone to Oakland. I haven't gone to Oakland. When it was the black hole. So I have been, to a couple of stadiums that are some hostile environments, and Arrowhead is, one of those places where, these guys get rolling on you, and it's tough. So I think that we're going to be able to, the way that they can match the crowd noise there in Arrowhead is going to be getting some third and longs, some big stops. And then also, I think, we're going to have to, as impossible as it may be, you're going to have to keep Mahomes at bay, however you decide to do it. However, Doug is going to try to, Doug and, team, or however they're going to try to do it, it's going to be tough. And, matching that intensity is going to come from the defense, as far as the defensive line with Josh Allen, and then also with Rayshon Jenkins in our secondary as well. The young linebackers, it's going to be a true test for them. Your Devin Lloyd, your Chad Mumas, but we do have our, Mike in the middle, Foye Oluokun, who is the leading tackler in the NFL. He's not a casual fans guy. You're not going to know him if you're just a casual NFL guy. You got to be a real, film watcher and stuff like that, and real NFL watcher to pay attention to him. And by the way, was absolutely snubbed, from all Pro Bowl selections, anything like that, which was terrible. But I think that's the way that they match it, and they come out hot. We know that Arrowhead's going to be rocking. And I think, honestly, low key, I think the Chiefs have been looking at this one as a kind of like a get back game, especially for some of the plays and some of the volumes of that game happened. I mean, you know how it was. You watched the game. It was chippy, and I think this is going to be an opportunity.
It's the Cisco receipt game, man.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's exactly what it is, man.
They started the game off with an onside.
Right. So
they're going for everything. They ain't
right, and that's what's so dangerous about this, because they're gonna have to steal possessions again, but the stealing of the possessions are gonna have to come in the form of Jamal Agnew taking it back on a kickoff or kick return or a punt return. It's gonna be the defense getting a fumble. I think the last time they played, they had 3 turnovers. Pacheco put it on the ground a couple, one or two times.
It was 27-17, and +3 was Jags +3 turnover.
Yeah. So, and then from that +3, and then you have the stolen possession on the onside kick. You get, and all of them negated to no points. We didn't get any points off of any of those, things. And we got to capitalize on that, especially, in the playoff game, that we're in right now.
Yeah, no, I mean that I definitely agree. It's probably going to start off being a pretty chippy game, I'd imagine. But I mean, I think out of the, I guess, AFC or remaining playoff teams, I mean, Jacksonville's right up there to be able to compete in a track meet if it gets to that. Which, I mean, KC's going to score. They're going to find ways to score. They do. They're number one offense. I mean, Mahomes is probably should be the MVP. I don't know how he wouldn't get it at this point. So that, I mean, to me is the biggest thing is like I said, the past few weeks when the Chiefs have had close games, it's because they've kind of done it to themselves, fumbling punt returns, throwing kind of just ill-advised picks right in the red zone. And they didn't do that in the last game of the season against the Raiders. And you saw a different type of margin of victory and kind of just theme narrative of the game. So, I mean, to me, obviously I'm a Chiefs fan. Jacksonville's a hot team, 6 games. But you go look at the 6 games. I mean, Chargers a playoff game. Playoffs, everything's different. But before that, outside of the Cowboys, it was playing Josh Dobbs. It was playing Mike White. It was playing, not guys in the playoffs right now. So, it'll be interesting to see how it matches up, going into the next level of the playoffs. But, like I said, playoffs, anything can happen. I mean, no one picked the Jags to win last week. I was pulling for them, but I pretty much assumed it was going to be a Chiefs-Chargers, rematch, which I didn't want. because like you saw, like,
contraire, speak for yourself. I picked all 6 games last week. Six games last week.
Where's your money?
You bet. If you didn't bet, it don't count.
I got the video to prove it. No, I got the video to prove it. If I was in Vegas, I would have bet it, but I wasn't in. But I declared on the next show we were on, which is the NFL Nation Live. Okay.
Oh, you shameless plug.
At 9 o'clock.
Back with the plug.
Shameless butt plug.
Back with the plug, but here it is. I picked all 6 games. So, for those that said that nobody picked them, this old dude picked all 6 games. And JK, I said it, man. I had belief in you. I said that the Jaguars were the up and coming, the hottest team in the AFC that were ascending at the right time. I picked you.
I appreciate that.
I wasn't believing it in the first half. I'm like, God, that was a crappy pick.
Yeah,
but,
that was.
Came back.
and JK, let's be clear. He didn't pick the Jags because he had ultimate faith. He just hates the Chargers.
Yeah.
So
that
that's
first
really,
half, man.
really what it is.
No,
purely out of spite.
I defy you to watch the show from last week, Coach D. I picked all 6 games, including the Giants over the Vikings.
Let me ask you this, though. When you picked it, did you call them the Garglers, and you just said that Jacksonville's going to beat the Garglers? Is that like your reasoning behind it?
Exactly.
No, I actually believe the Jags are going to win because that they were the hottest AFC team going in.
That's debatable.
I mean, it has been a roller coaster, man.
Don't make me go triple X on you there, Coach. Okay.
Listen,
we got a guest in here, and JK3 don't know me yet. Okay,
yeah.
So just saying. Let's
and I'm sure he don't want to know you like that. What you get ready to do? I'm sure you don't want to meet that person. I don't think you want to see it. I don't think it was part of you.
So the one thing that I do wonder if I'm trying to think what we saw in this past game and how you can get around it. Yeah. So again, harping back to some of our prior conversations. Is you've had recent games where Lawrence has been the reason.
Yeah.
And that has actually been one of your team's biggest issues is that he has kind of been there, but never the reason. And now he's actually starting to become the reason in many of these games, which is what the Chargers have had with their team with Herbert pretty much since he entered the league, which is a huge windfall for the Chargers in getting that guy finally for their team, which frankly is rather fortunate for them because they went from Rivers, who was a pretty darn good quarterback to begin with, and then they went to Herbert, who if anything, it was a seamless upgrade at that position, which you almost never get when you transition to a rookie. So I think they must be ecstatic. But when I look at the Jags in terms of
that might be the only thing we get right as a quarterback. It went from Drew Brees to Phillip Rivers to Justin Herbert.
Well, and it wasn't even going to be Herbert until you effed up the other one. So,
well, yeah, sabotage Tyrod Taylor, exactly.
Yeah, guys try to kill him.
somebody passed that mafia duffel bag.
Yeah.
Got Tyrod up out of there.
Give him the sniff.
Yeah.
There you go.
Hey, you want us to we should go talk to him for you. You know what I'm saying? It fell off the effort truck. You know,
talked about it over some gabagool.
There you go, Vinny.
Yeah, the gabagaboo.
Well, the real answer to that is the real good old boys there, they measure their cars by the number of bodies their trunks fit. And so it's either a 3-body, a 4-body, or a 6-body. And that's really what makes the difference there. And you should know this because your team's in Vegas. But
hey, leave the gun, bring your canola. You know what I'm saying?
But getting back to where I was kind of going with that, JK, which is Lawrence did what he's done in some previous games against the Chargers. He looked shaky, and not just a little bit, a lot.
Yeah.
How can Peterson, ultimately, in my opinion, it kind of falls on Peterson to put together a better game plan. What can he do differently to not have that same start?
Yeah. I mean, and he's looked shaky. I mean, you go back to the Jets game. The Jets game, they turn over the ball first, the first possession. Against the Titans, he looked shaky. As well as far as the offense coming out pretty stagnant. And then more recently, last week, it was I mean, that's the worst start you could arguably have as far as a quarterback coming in your first playoff game. You got 4 picks, and then you had the pick in the pick in the second quarter, and then you had Chris Claybrooks on punt return, got a fumble off the top of the dome or the helmet. So that being said, man, I think the best way that you come out, in a hostile environment is to get some good rhythm plays. I think, you have a script, out there. And again, most people, most teams, they say they do have a script, but I think the script here is to really just go ahead and assess control and assess dominance. You got to get ETN going. So whether it's out of the backfield with him, whether it is, getting him out into the flats, you got to use Jamal Agnew, which I think that's going to be the key to victory here is Doug is going to get creative with Jamal Agnew. Not a lot of film on Agnew here, gadget player. I think you get him into some good rhythm plays, and then you go and progress down the route tree with Evan Ingram, with Christian Kirk, with Zay Jones, and get him comfortable in the situation. I think he's got to get a couple of completions under his belt before he really starts feeling the juice. And then, it's going to let him fly. I think another thing, too, is going to get him settled down earlier, too, is going to be the chunk plays. So the 30-yard route, a good 20-yard, a really good chunk play is going to really kind of loosen those nerves for him. Again, this is going to be probably the most pressure. The pressure seems to be rising each game they play. You play the Titans, you got to win, or you beat the Jets, you increase your chances to get to the playoffs. You beat the Titans, you get into the playoffs. Now you got the Chargers at home, pressure cooker, whole town is in teal, everything else like that, so you go ahead and you get that win. And then now you're going on the road, into a hostile environment, to a matchup that we want to see years down the road. You want to see your Mahomeses and your Lawrences versus your Burrows, your Lawrences versus your Allens. The AFC right now, at least, you got some storyline there, for a couple of years to come. So, but I think, most importantly, the thing that's going to really, really get him, comfortable is if the defense can come out and put a stop. The defense has got to show that they're able. This is, in my opinion, it's a David versus Goliath matchup. Because the Chiefs, the road still goes through Arrowhead, in my opinion. At least for the time being, as far as longevity. Cincy, they had it last year, but and they're currently proving it. They're paving their road now to get to the Super Bowl. Buffalo, it's kind of been a dead end, as far as getting to the Super Bowl is it doesn't really have to go through them. So I think as far as Kansas City goes, the yellow brick road, as you could say, no pun to the red and yellow there in Arrowhead. But I think you got it. A couple factors got to play in for him, in order to look successful and to be successful out of the gate.
Yeah, and I would agree with that, and kind of like Jay John said, which is I was leading to this stuff. I think I had 5 big things to watch out, and kind of as I was alluding to is. They can compete in a track meet. Partially that's due to KC's defense and specifically the pass defense and where they rank, because it's not very good. They're kind of an all or nothing unit. It's either we're getting a sack or forcing a turnover or you're going to score on us. Because, secondary alone's given up 33 touchdowns, which is the dead last in the league. I think they're close to dead last in terms of the rating they give up to tight ends and wide receivers. Week 10 game, I hate to use that as like a baseline, but, it somewhat is, although it's a totally different Jags team than that. But Kirk and Zay Jones, I think combined had 17 catches. So they certainly were moving the ball and were passing the ball well. And to me, that's really the biggest thing, our key matchup for both sides is the offensive line, for both teams and how well they can contain pressure and not get either Lawrence or Mahomes hit. We know KC has a well-ranked offensive line. I think they're 3rd or 2nd in sacks allowed. Jacksonville is a little more towards the other side, but then you look at the Chargers game, and I mean they contained Bosa and Mack pretty well. I think I wrote it down somewhere. Lawrence was only pressured on 18% of his passes on 49 dropbacks, which I mean, you told me you have where they were top 5 in sacks allowed this year. So you told me a line that ranked in that through the longevity of the season was going to, only give up 18% pressure to Bosa and Khalil Mack. I'd tell you you're smoking crack. But,
our offensive line, dude, number 72, Walker Little. Cam Robinson went down earlier.
Oh, yeah, Walker Little's a good back, good.
Bro, Walker Little is a man. He's an absolute man, dude. And so between him, our center, Fortner, who's a rookie, by the way.
Fortner.
Been playing lights out. And then you got, the right side with Brandon Sheriff and Jawan Taylor. Now I think containing Chris Jones is going to be that's where the money's going to be made right now between Fortner and Sheriff and Jawan Taylor on that right side. But Chris Jones is everywhere. He lines up at rush end, he lines up at defense, he lines up at the nose tackle, he lines up in the B gap, he lines up everywhere. So containing that along with Carlos Dunlap, as well, is going to be it's going to be tough. And I think that this is going to be for it to be a 4:00 game. Or 4:30. Well, I'm going to KC, so I have to remember 3:30.
Yeah,
3:30. Central
41
time.
degrees. So you lucked out.
It's supposed to be snowing too. So
I don't think so, but I think
here, so I'll be good. But I mean, I think it's going to be a lot interesting than what a lot of people are saying.
No, I mean, I agree. I mean. Like I was getting at with the pressures, looking at the Week 10 game, like you guys had +3 turnover margin, but Casey had 5 sacks. And I bet if you go really fine-tooth comb through it, those 5 sacks came at pretty pivotal moments of, third down or, a key drive killer of the game. So, I mean, to me, and that's going to be the story for either side because that there's going to be points scored. Peterson is an Andy Reid disciple. He's from the Reid tree. He's an offensive guy. He's been in playoffs. He's done stuff like Philly specials.
Yeah.
So he's going to have some cards up the sleeve to put points on the board, and that's going to be, to me, the biggest thing is who's going to apply more pressure and who's going to be in the backfield more to negate some of the big explosive plays. Because I mean, both these teams are set up that way. That's how they're set up for. Etienne's more of an established runner than Pacheco. As much as I'd hate to admit, and he is a baller, and he had like 109 yards last game. But I mean, either way, the tools that both Lawrence and Mahomes have are set up to be very explosive units. So it's going to really depend on who's getting sacks and who's pressuring, in the backfield. To see, is going to be the driving point of success really in where this game goes.
I'm looking for another historic win. Against the Raiders, the Jags, they shut down Oakland when it was the last game in Oakland. I'm looking for a historic win. The Chargers last week, historic comeback. So I'm hoping
we'll talk about that when we're done with this.
No, give me 1 second. And my last historic victory that I'm hoping for this weekend is Trevor Lawrence's first trip to an AFC divisional, matchup with a win over, the Chiefs. So.
Hey, and we can't forget Trevor Lawrence is yet to lose on Saturday. I know Jags fans don't want to say it, but I'm going to say it. He's never lost on Saturday.
Quit saying that, man. Quit saying that.
No, I definitely agree that it's going to be a great game. It's going to be totally different than Week 10 was. You guys – I knew that if you guys made the playoffs, it'd be a totally different team because you're so young. You get your Trevon Walkers and those guys to develop. They're going to be different players week in and week out. So it's really going to come down to the trenches, but that's just football in general. But especially in this game, just because you got, a team riding high with Trevor Lawrence is a great QB. So they're going to move the ball. Mahomes is going to move the ball. So we'll just see who could contain it a little bit.
And expect a lot of teal in Arrowhead, man. I think a lot of Jags fans, plan on making the trip. And the crazy thing about this, because I've been out west to Arrowhead before. I went to LA last year for the Rams, Rams and Jags fans. This is an opportunity for people on the West Coast to kind of really put some skin in the game and actually get to a game. Tickets are still available in the secondary market, as well. But I think it's because, KC is looking a little bit ahead. They're looking for that revenge game, looking to get back with the Bengals, and then, also, Allen. So as far as any of the Jags fans that are out west, plan on making the trip. We've got tailgates and things like that already set up in Arrowhead. Wear your teal, and let's show them what Duval's about.
You got to get some KC barbecue too. So,
oh come on, man! Dude, Q39.
That's what I was gonna tell you. You got Joe's Q39.
Yeah, Q39. I went to Jack Stack. I had the Z-Man sandwich. I went to Arthur Brown. I went to Gates. I did as much as I could. But Q39 is where it's at. I made a reservation for Friday night at Q39 downtown KC, and I'm gonna get some good beer. Going to hit Boulevard, a couple other places that are there in Kansas City, and take it all in.
That's good. I'm glad you said Q39. I didn't have to direct you there. That is definitely the spot.
Yo, somebody just said Jags 42, KC 28.
Well, he's a Raiders
crazy. Oh, he's a Raiders fan. I think that's been the coolest thing too, is that most of the AFC West has, from our Twitter and everything else like that, most of the AFC West has just been like, take down the Chiefs, you know what I mean? And and it just shows the strength hold that you guys have had on that division over the last couple of years. So you guys are rooting for the AFC
Patriots now, man. It's come full circle.
Jags to pull it off.
I say anything about the Chiefs, I just get hated now. Apparently.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you're getting the general consensus from the AFC West, where our general mood is the end of any Mortal Kombat fight, where our general echoing is finish him.
Yeah.
Well, one of their teams couldn't do it, so
yeah. So and by the way, that further bolsters our record of having at least 2 to 3 movie quotes in every single show. Which we might get into records as we keep going through the season, because we haven't failed yet. So we seem to always be able to work them in. But I still think the biggest thing for you guys, in my opinion, is for Peterson to develop a script of sorts that counters the Chiefs initially, to get Lawrence over that initial jitter phase. And I just hope that you guys can figure it out, because I truly think that that's going to be the piece that'll make or break this game, because I don't think the Chiefs are going to be like your other games where you're going to be able to bounce back that aggressively, simply because the Chiefs have also shown this season that they too can start just lighting it on fire and playing catch up too. So I don't think that you're going to be able to break away like you guys have done in some of these like 3-4 games, say in games past, where you've been able to
the last times the Chiefs played an AFC South team, they came back from down 24 points. So
yeah,
like it was nothing.
Yeah, and that's what's scary about them, man. I mean, I feel like the Chiefs are just a Ferrari. They can take off whenever, and
or they can break down.
Yeah, that too. But I mean, I think the thing too, and I think the overachieving factor of all of this, is the advantage. That is Arrowhead. And again, if anyone's never, it's a tough place to play. And again, I think that a third down, that old stadium gets rocking, and then it's nothing that you've never seen before. And then again, if you don't quiet that crowd, you don't get that crowd under control, and you don't, get some of those confidence building plays, next thing you know, you've got Kelsey, hitting you for 15. Next thing you know, you've got Juju hitting you for 10. Then you got Pacheco breaking off for 10. And then here comes an Andy Reid ring around the rosy play or something like that to score. And next thing you know, they're rocking, they're playing. You got to fight to your right to party, and barbecue pits are lit and shit. So it's crazy.
A bunch of people just screaming who've been drinking since 9 a.m. So
the last time I went, man, I saw a dude in the stadium eating like a turkey leg. I was like, man, how did you get that in here? Like how did you? They don't sell it at the concession stand. I have no idea if he snuck it in under his jacket, but I looked over and he was just like biting it like a Neanderthal. So, but
it's better you not ask how they smuggle things into stadiums.
Yeah, that's Capt.
Capt has a pleasant experience at Arrowhead trying to smuggle in a weapon.
There you go.
Well, I mean, did I mischaracterize it a bit? Yes, but was I still right in describing the event? Yes.
Yeah, JK, you missed it. I said that. I tried to smuggle myself in, but they said that I had too much metal on, and it's the only stadium that I've been kicked out of before I even got into it, and I had to strip off all of my necklaces. But I did smuggle in 2 necklaces for the Monday night game because I knew I was going to be, front row. I wanted to be on TV, so I got my owl necklace on, 1 Raider necklace on, and the other thing. But I had to take the rest of it off. So again, to the good folks, security in Kansas City, you are number 1 to me,
dude. So
you were just dripping too much.
It's funny, man, because so when the Raiders came to Jacksonville, it was like 90 degrees. And so everybody's rocking like the Raiders like starter jackets. And I'm like, yo, y'all are going to die. Like, what are you doing? Why are you wearing this? And then with the Raiders, the pageantry that comes with being a Raiders fan, you got people dressed like pirates. You got people dressed like zombies. And I saw this one dude, he had on like he looked, it was probably
you were quite literally sitting below the pirate.
Yeah, it was literally this guy was dressed like it must have been the most realistic Darth Vader costume I've ever seen in my entire life.
That part I appreciate. As a Star Wars fan, I appreciate the Darth Vader costume.
No, the cape was leather. This guy's walking around Jacksonville, Florida with a leather cape on.
Wow.
And it's like, yo, I hope you have some air conditioning going on in there.
Something.
So it's dedicated.
JK, I live over in Tampa. I know about Florida humidity. That's why I gave you the Hillsboro, because every time I hear Duval, I always go, Hillsboro, and they're like, dude, I'm like, yeah, I know.
You would have gave me a little bit more street cred. You would have said Polk County.
No. Polk County is where Polk County is where all of the thugs.
Yeah, Polk County.
Go from. Polk County is where I think they're like where the Pouncey brothers are from, and I'm going to shut my mouth so I don't want to get Clinton.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah,
I'm just saying that
they'll get you. Yeah, I think they went to
Ray Lewis. And Ray Lewis is from Polk County too.
The Pounceys, they went to Armstead High School, I believe.
Yeah, Armstead is right up the street from me, but that's not Polk. That's still Hillsboro.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I know. Trust me,
the brothers were incredible players. Like both of them were at a different.
Oh yeah, they definitely.
I'm not going to say anything further because I like to keep what little life I have left. Okay, I'm just saying. I know things. I'm just saying.
So, JK, on kind of continuing on the vein in this game, aside from some of the obvious things, what do you think the Jags have in their arsenal that the Chiefs will struggle with in this upcoming game? Now, that can also include something that worked the previous game you guys played against each other, but obviously between 10 and what week 19 now or 20 now. So what do you think you're going to see this week that you think the Jags have that the Chiefs are likely going to struggle with?
Evan Ingram. That's a no-brainer for me. I think Evan Ingram is going to give the Chiefs the thing is that Evan Ingram, the Chiefs defense has probably had the pleasure of covering and trying to scheme against Travis Kelce, but that's only in training camp. You know what I mean? So they haven't had I hope they don't have a scout team tight end like Evan Ingram, that they've just been keeping on the roster and hiding. But I think Evan Ingram is going to be, someone that's going to create matchup nightmares, for them, just because of his speed and his increased ball catching ability that he didn't have in New York, that he has it over here. I think it's going to be, that he brought to Jacksonville. I think that's going to be great. I think also as well, if they get him involved, Jamal Agnew. I think Jamal Agnew is, I hate using the word or the phrase like poor man's, Tyreek Hill or something like that, but he is an X factor that there's not a lot of film out there on there, and he can return kicks. He can
130 return kick yards last week. Something stupid.
Yeah, he's sick, and so he's had a couple that were taken back that he's taken back that have been called back for holding, blocking the back, stuff like that. But I think that the person that's really gonna really eat on Saturday is going to be Evan Ingram. I think there's a lot of film out there on Zay Jones, and Zay Jones gets his his stuff, but he's easily rattled as far as not fighting through the catch. Like someone will be on top of his back, like Asante Samuel last week. He was playing physical defense, and Zay wasn't running through the catches, and Asante was continuing to still play the ball, and that's where 3 of those picks came from him continuing to play through the ball, and Zay Jones looking for the flag. I think if the Jags can come out and turn this into a street fight and really not care about the penalties, not look for the calls, because you're not going to get them, and you're not going to get them in Arrowhead. So I think if you continue to just play through the ball and get Evan Ingram into some favorable matches with a linebacker where you have to force a linebacker to cover him, I think that's where they're really going to be able to shine and really stay consistent. I think Marvin Jones is going to be, a really good, consistent third down, possession receiver. We'll get him there. And same thing with Christian Kirk. He's been pretty sure-handed as well. But again, Agnew and Ingram are going to be the keys from the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, I think, I guess as the outsider looking in, to me, I think ETN would be the biggest factor, because if you get him going and you can eat up large chunks of plays and large chunks of time, that's, to kind of shrink down the game itself, I think would, be huge too. Because, that Week 10 game, they held ETN pretty well, given how he was playing up to that point. And I think if you see him contain him similar, it helps out a lot in the long run. But if Jacksonville's out there and getting 6 yards a carry and having 10 minute, having 10-minute drives, it's going to be an interesting game. But Ingram to me is the big dark force with it, because
Alex, your dog wants 6 yards of carry for the Jags. Clearly, he's getting very excited with the
dog's agreeing. Dog's like, run ETN.
Right.
Yeah, he's like, yeah.
Jags fan.
ETN's had some
right behind me going at it. But
some ball security issues too. So that's the thing that really frightens me, is that the ball security issues, and especially with some of the plays where ETN has really shined, minus anything on the outside, but most of their plays, they do a really good job running like a dive with him, where he gets lost in between the ball and shoots out. But as he is shooting out from there's been times where the ball gets poked out from behind. Someone comes in with the old school Charles Peanut Tillman punch and punches the ball out too. So, he has had some tendencies of putting the ball on the ground. They've gotten better. I guess since the Jets, he hasn't fumbled, but it's been one of those things where, we kind of hold our breath here in Jacksonville when he runs the ball, and at least until he's in, open space before we get, super excited about it.
I'm actually
Alex,
curious about the meeting of the minds would come down to Andy and Doug. That's the one I'm interested in, to see the student and the teacher actually go against each other and have the chess match
If
between
you
the
missed him in Jacksonville,
there he is.
if you missed him in Jacksonville, I was there, brother. I was there.
All you need is the Davy Jones like octopus, beard. That's the only thing you're missing to set your get up off. You ever have any you ever have any like beefs with Buccaneers fans? Like, is there any beef between like the different type of pirates? Like, are you guys both all hunting the same?
You mean the fake pirates of Tampa Bay? The fake pirates.
There it is.
Here we go.
Yeah. I have issues
actually,
with
Captain,
the fake pirates.
There's totally a joke in there too, by the way.
Yeah,
I mean, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers quarterback is definitely hunting booty.
Well, apparently, if you saw his new Instagram girlfriend, who I haven't seen yet, but I've been told that she's hotter than a cannon.
You haven't seen it?
No, I haven't seen it yet.
But no, hey, Coach Defense, I agree with you were saying too about the meeting of the minds between Andy Reid and Doug Peterson. So last week, when we talked, about the Chargers, and when we had a Chargers podcast on as well, that's where I put the extra tick in the win column for the Jags, because Brandon Staley, versus Doug Peterson as far as coaching experience goes.
Oh yeah, I definitely had a coaching edge.
That's where I said, look, this is where it's gonna really be. Like, Staley is great,
and playoff experience too.
Exactly.
Yeah, and Doug's got it also. Doug's
all the way to the end.
Right.
Doug's got the experience too, coming from KC.
Right.
So I think he's telling everybody what playoff atmosphere is like in Kansas City. Like, he's lived through it.
He played for Reid. And
right.
It's like, all of his ideologies and schemes to some degree.
That's why I say it's going to be a chess match.
Undertone.
I feel like it's going to be a chess match between the two. I think it's going to be a high level coaching expedition in this game. I definitely believe that.
Yeah, and both teams aren't afraid to go for it on fourth and whatever either.
Agreed.
Yeah, so fourth, I don't plan to see a punter here a lot at all.
Yeah, they probably don't get a lot of work.
Yeah, fourth and whatever, 2-point conversion.
Yeah,
it's gonna be. It's definitely gonna be a you don't know what's gonna happen. The fourth and whatever, it's the playoffs. It's insane, man. I can't wait. I can't wait for
it. No risk it, no biscuit game.
That's it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're going to see some interesting stuff come out of here. I think you're going to see Peterson specifically have a play for this game. I think that there's going to be something like that
too.
And I think Reid will have something that he's going to put. Like, again, they are literally coming from the same. They're the same.
Spider-Man meme, right?
Cloth, they're cut.
Yeah. Point at each other.
Yeah.
What's in my playbook?
Yes. Yeah. There you go.
Trevor Lawrence took a page out of Andy Reid's Waffle House playbook this
right. He's got that little green book like Waterboy, right? All the secret plays. There's our movie reference. We're back.
Coaching for dummies.
I just hate him, Grandma.
Well, I mean, at least Peterson didn't go to the old inkjet ribbon printer to print off the annexation of Puerto Rico.
There you go. Well, we saw the Statue of Liberty play last week, so we get the annexation of Puerto Rico this week. Why not?
Yeah. And again, that was yet another movie reference. That I made there. Just
Little Giants.
Yeah, there we go.
The Little Giants.
Quarterback's not even there.
Right.
Standing around.
That's great. So just as a quick side note, guys, as we kind of slowly start wrapping down the show here with our special guest JK the Third. For those of you who don't know, JK the Third is part of and broadcasts with Down by the Bank, which you can find on all of your podcasting platforms. You did mention to me that you guys are also you're at least looking potentially at going on YouTube as well. Are you already there?
No, that'll be something that we discover next, probably for next season.
Year?
Try to figure out how we're going to integrate it. We've had a couple of opportunities where we've been able to do some like live podcasts and things like that, and they turned out pretty good for us. But I think the video component is like what's separating a lot of the good podcasts from being great, and the content that people are consuming is mostly in the video, versus having it on your phone and things like that. So I think that once we do go in the video, and I think Rich, shout out to you having me. This is like 4 or 5.
Yeah.
You're fire at this point, man.
So Rich has been a heavy influence on getting us to do video. And, so we'll figure out a way to get it done. But everyone's like, for me, like your backdrops. I don't have it. I got a ton of Jag stuff, but I just don't have it up. So, but it is, we're gonna go to video next year. We're on the Blue Wire, sports network as well. So they've given us an opportunity to, meet with Chris Long and the Greenlight podcast. They've put us into play with a couple other podcasts on the network as well to continue to grow the brand and grow the content. And so things like this as well, if any of you guys ever see the Jaguars on your schedule, feel free to hit me up. I'm always available to talk, ball and talk, what we see here, in Jax, and, again, give you guys a little bit of a behind the enemy lines kind of thing, what we're doing.
I appreciate it. And guys, as you know, directly after this show, Captain has NFL Nation Live that you can find on the YouTube or on his channel, because it does broadcast in both locations. JK, you may not be familiar. NFL Nation Live is headed up by a former NFL referee, goes by Ref Guru if you track him down on Twitter, and gives some really great insight in terms of some of the inner workings of the officiating side of the game on that podcast, which is super, super interesting.
That is where Jacksonville lucked out. Carl Cheffers is not going to be in KC, so that's good. That dude hates the Chiefs.
Yeah. So I think it's really
in Vinovich. I was gonna say if it was gonna get chippy, they should have brought in Vinovich. So who's the ref? We will find out on NFL Nation Live.
Just like Sean Miller hates Joey Bosa, but I digress.
Yeah.
Alex, are you
I didn't touch it. I didn't touch it, Coach. But you know what? He was an ass, and he got what he got deserved.
Whoa.
He was an ass, and he got what was deserved. I'm just saying. And by the way, JK, it's not just a backdrop, dude. It is an entire museum.
It's his house.
Museum room.
That's insane.
Museum room.
He's a hoarder.
You're cordial. You're cordial. Yeah, I am a hoarder. I admit that. You're cordial.
You can't throw that away. That's how we sweat from the divisional game.
There you go.
Alex, are you going to the game?
No, I'm not. I'll just be watching. Unfortunately, I usually when I go, nothing good happens. So, and I feel like
go.
The jinx.
All right.
You're the jinx.
Yeah. Been to the last 2 games I've gone to were against the Bills and Arrowhead, and we know how both except the playoff one. I didn't go to that.
Okay. Cool. Well, now I was gonna see, shoot you my info. We could track down and shotgun a couple beers, out there in the park.
Dude, I'd be all over that. Hey, if they play again, I'll make an effort to go. And
For sure. For sure. Well, it's gonna be fun, man. Like I said, a ton of Jags fans. Southwest has a couple flights leaving here like 30 minutes after each other, and like I said, I think that those couple flights, at least coming out of Jags, are gonna be pretty rowdy. And if you hear of a plane emergency landing somewhere, it's because we've taken it over because of the amount
Rowdy
of
Jags fan. How about a score prediction from each one of you before we wrap up?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Yeah. I thought about this long and hard. I'm not really a person that likes to give score predictions, but when in Rome, we'll go ahead and do it. I'm going 28-24. Jacksonville Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence gets his first trip to the AFC divisional title,
and Duval goes crazy. Nobody's working. Nobody worked this week. Nobody worked last week. We're not working next week either.
Continuing on the Christmas vacation, right?
Yeah.
Dang. Well, I think I would. I'm going to give it a little. I think it's going to be a close game. I don't see the margin being 10 points or higher like it was. I think 3.7-point game is going to come down to the last possession, but I'm going to say 35-28 KC.
Exciting game.
Okay, let me see what the line is this game while we're at it.
Line, I believe, is 8.5.
9. It was 9 last I looked.
8.5. 8.5. 8.5.
A little bit.
Wow.
It's slowly
8.5.
coming down. It started off at 10.
Yeah.
Once the game was announced last Sunday, I think the game was Sunday morning when I checked it, the early line was 10, and so now it's down to 8.5.
If it gets to 7, I'm taking the Chiefs.
Wow. If either of those scores come true in either kind of finale, whether it be the Jags or the Chiefs ending up winning, that's a very high scoring game for.
Well, I think it's going to be one because both teams are more offensive than defensive. Sure, the defenses have played well at times, but I think if you look at the season as a whole, there's more production out of the offensive side than the defense side. I don't know. I might be mischaracterizing the Jags a bit, but that's kind of the outside impression I have of them. Is that wrong?
It's one of those. I don't want to give too many keys to the kingdom away, man. But I think you're right on. I think you're right on with it, and it's exciting because the Jags haven't had a high-powered offense like this. It's an exciting time here in Jacksonville. Because first year our expectations have been tremendously exceeded, and I think that the way that this team has this. This back against the wall, do or die, type of mentality right now. I think you go out and you prove it, man. And you rock KC shit in the beginning of the game, man. You got to go out there and you got to hit them and let them know where you're at. And then, hopefully, we see an entertaining game.
Richie, what's your prediction? I need one from you. Come on. Just say what you say every week.
I'm going to probably go. I'm thinking it'll be something like a 31-27 kind of thing. It'll be somewhere in that range, and I'm thinking that this one, the Jags are going to pull off over the Chiefs.
Thank you. That's all I needed. I just needed you to pick against KC as you've done this whole season, and look where it's gotten us. So.
Sounds like you're keeping receipts, Al.
Oh, yes.
Oh, I am.
Yes.
Oh, see what you don't see is the chart that he has over on the off camera.
Right.
Little diary notes.
He got a big
little journal notes.
Receipts he keeps up in his room.
January 18th at 7:53. Richie said this.
all post-it notes. Post-it notes.
Yeah. Well, in his particular field, they quite literally keep 3M in business.
Not me, man. I'm paper free. Everything.
So, anyways, guys, I think that'll about do us for the show. For everyone, for those of you who are joining us after the show who were not able to join us live, we appreciate you joining anyway. Once you get to this point of the show, go ahead and leave your score predictions in the comment section down below. We'd love to hear what you have to say about this particular game. If there's any questions that you missed and you want to yell at us for not asking JK the Third, you can also leave those in the comment section down below. And if I think they are good enough, or if we think they are good enough, we can go ahead and perhaps get those answered ahead of the game and tweet them out to you guys if you are interested. As always, please like and subscribe to all of our channels and go ahead and follow our guests' podcast there wherever you consume your podcast content. And again, that's JK the Third, who's got Down by the Bank there now added to his name, so that you all know how and where to find him and his crew there on all of the podcasting platforms. And guys, until next time, where the West Side is the best side. Peace.
Woo!